Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank Podcast. I'm here with a special past guest. And it's been a full year and a half. About a year and a month since we last did this Uncanny Earth. I'm here with Mr. Robert Solomon.
What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here at this beautiful crack of dawn, 8 o'clock in the morning.
So I have a very serious topic to talk about because I think you predicted a bit of the future.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So remember when you had me on your show, I get a message for the audience listening. I get a message from this guy saying, I want you to do a little bit of research on a topic before you come on this Uncanny Earth. And I'm like, all right, what are we talking about? Aliens? What are we talking about? He goes, I want you to research China's social economic credit system. Is that what it was?
Credit score. Yeah, it's a social credit score.
Well, the world is running by that shit now. It's literally like that. So what, for people listening, if you guys look this up, basically you get like a tax break, you get a loan, you get all these different things and deemed right by society if you snitch out your neighbor for not following instructions or rules, which is kind of what we're seeing with now people snitching on other people for not wearing masks. And it turns into this whole freaking like jar of sand or jar of like hornets where everybody's just getting stirred up and stinging each other.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, and you see it a lot. I've seen people get into fights over these masks and everything else. So people are going nuts in the stores and the supermarkets and yelling at each other. I mean, I don't see it as much when I'm out. I think a lot of it is probably in your more major cities where you have more people, and more people is going to cause more tension. So I don't really see it when I'm out and about my daily travels, but that's just me.
I mean, I just look at it like the world seems pretty divided when it comes to a lot of things. I mean, you talk to a vast amount of people, and it's obviously different wherever you go, however you choose to live in your lifestyle and stuff. But like, I never would have thought we would have been anything like China, but now it seems like we're mimicking them in a huge way.
Well, I mean, look where our products come from. Look where a lot of our investments come from, and a lot of the debt is owned by China themselves. So we don't know what major players are behind the scenes, sort of, kind of pushing that idea. And we have so much disinformation in the media too that really pushes that narrative of, hey, you shouldn't like this person because they don't wear a mask, or you shouldn't like this person because they wear a mask. And I think that's the main issue we have in our country itself, is that we need to stick together as Americans. We shouldn't really be divided. This isn't a country that needs to be divided. We saw what happens in division many years back with the Civil War and brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. And that was under some different circumstances, but we're seeing kind of that play out right now. In terms of just what this whole virus has done to our population and our people as a whole. And it's sad. I hate seeing it. I hate seeing my fellow Americans just going at each other. And social media has made that 100% worse, I think, especially now. Like, if you go anywhere on social media and it's just everybody's fighting. And I think that plays more of a part to our basic instinct to want to shout out from the rooftops our opinions and what we think is right and what we think is wrong. And so we have so many people out there, just, it's always on social media, just yelling at each other, just something. I don't like you because you're doing this. I don't like you because you're doing that. And it's like, bring back MySpace, man, so I can put my music on the page, man. That's all I want. Just bring back MySpace.
All your creepy ass MySpace photos out for this. They're still out there for the world to see. Of course. That was the best because you could click on somebody's profile and they had like a playlist of what music they're listening to. And then it's like old school shit. Like, if you look back at it now, like, it would be like, oh my God, like I was listening to Doorbell by the White Stripes. Like, that was my everyday jam. I'm thinking about my doorbell when you're going to ring it. But like with social media, though, the crazy thing is I've been talking to a lot of people. They're like, no, it's pretty positive. I love everything about it. I think social media is amazing. And I'm like, that's because a lot of times you take out the things which are common that everyone has, which a lot of people don't even think about, is the stressors that are on your phone, which is like, I'm only going to follow positive people and positive this. So my whole news feed is positive. But it's like, the thing is, if you even said something that positive person you're following doesn't like, they immediately flip in the complete opposite direction and start hating on you and attacking you. So that's what's scary, is like, if you are managing social media in the best way, you're walking on fucking eggshells, man. Like, it's nuts to see how like together we're supposed to be, and then how separate we actually are. Like, I mean, I saw a picture which perfectly represents what's going on with the world, where honestly, I'm going to ask you this, and I know you're going to be blunt with me about it. You're the one I've mentioned many times before that has completely
Appreciate that.
revolutionized my mind when it comes to the fact of we came from Mars. You tossed that theory in my head last year, and I still am like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Shadow society. Do you think there is one, and do you think it is just this thing that we keep getting to the brink of, and then we just give up last minute?
I mean, I think with a lot of things that happen, I think there's always going to be a society of something. Anytime you have a group of people that share similar interests and you get enough of them together, there can definitely be a society. Whether it be the Bilderbergs, whether it be the Trilateral Commission, whether it be the Masons, whether it be any sort of secret society, you're going to have those. But do I think there's like a sort of like a hidden hand that moves the economic market? Do I think there's a hidden hand that moves social engineering? 100% yes. And we see it, you know, I don't watch a lot of television. I'll turn it on every now and again just to kind of see what they're trying to manipulate people into. The nightly news will do that 100% perfectly. They get people riled up. We see it with the election going on right now. But I do think there's a hand that moves the economic market, especially the economic market. All the money, you know, you'll have our governor, he has stake in different things, and what he could do is he could invest in a company, take that company, and then create another company. So he creates a long line of companies, right? And then he acts as he wants to, but it's kind of like he's so far back removed from that company that he's trying to manipulate that he can do whatever he wants. And I think we have that. I think we have these rich uh, individuals, and I'm not talking about Hollywood. I'm not talking about your athletes. They're out there every day. You can go find these people. Yeah, they got security and all that, but if you really wanted to, you could run up on these people. But the hand that's moving the economic market in this day and age, you don't know who they are. That is the level of rich that is just untouchable because you don't know them. You don't know Mark, the venture capitalist who's just mad selling real estate, and he's got billions of dollars just sitting around. But that money's moving. The money really doesn't just sit like in a bank account and collect dust. It moves. He's buying, he's selling, he's buying, he's selling. But he's a major player. All these athletes, they're not major players at all. The people that own the teams, those are the major players of the sports world. It's not unless there's an athlete that owns a team, like Jordan, I think owned the Wizards, I believe, back in, I'm going to say like 2000s or the 90s. I apologize if I didn't get that right, but I think he owned the Wizards.
Are we talking about golf? I don't. That basketball realm is way out of my
right. I know a little bit, but that's about it. But the major players are the faces you don't see. They're the ones that control the ebb and flow of steel, of
it's a game of fucking market. Sims. Everyone talks about we're living in the Matrix. I'm like, no, we are literally in Sims. They're just directing us like go downstairs and get a sandwich. Like that stuff we can kind of do on our own, but they're like the big scheme of things. It's literally like Sim City. We're like, I'm going to build this mine next to this school. And then I'm going to, people are upset with that. Well, I don't care because it's helping me supply right now. That's the whole thing. And it's interesting. I saw a picture which led to this kind of question was the fact of if you take 100 red ants and 100 black ants and you put them in a jar, you shake up that jar, and then you place the jar out on the ground and let the ants crawl out. Immediately, the ants start killing each other, start ripping each other apart and tearing basically each other apart. And it's because they're natural enemies and they're angry at each other because of what just happened. But their enemy is not each other. It's the person that shook up the jar. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't that make sense with all of us that we're fighting each other over everything? Who's the one that shook up the jar? Who's the one that is shaking up the jar?
Let me give you an even better example.
Damn it.
No, but I think this plays well to what you just said. I think this actually plays perfectly. Coming up is America's favorite holiday, Christmas, right? And with Christmas comes...
Whoa.
My favorite holiday. Sorry, my favorite holiday.
We have Jewish listeners. Okay. Some of us don't celebrate.
Apologies. Christmas. And I have Jewish heritage, so we could talk about that another time. But my personal favorite holiday. But in front of that is Black Friday, right? Red and black ants situation. Throw a bunch of people in one place put out the cheapest, most garbage TVs you can possibly find because they're trash. That's how they get you. What they do is they put these junk TVs out there so they'll break. So you have to come back 6 months later, 3 months later, and buy a TV. Shake it up. Make them so there's only maybe like 12 TVs, right? I mean, there's more than that. I'm just giving a number. 12 TVs. Say you got 100 people, right? And they all want that cheap TV. They don't want to spend the money and get a better TV, which they would be better off doing. There's your jar. There's your ants. The retailers are shaking those bad boys up and then letting people loose. You see videos of people fighting.
Yeah, but
I'm not fighting over no TV, man. I'm good on that.
Even the retailers are scared. They have to open up hours. Like, they always change the time of when they're going to open up. Like, I remember last year it was like, we're going to open up at 7 a.m. Okay, that's going to be the starting date. But then they opened up secretly at 4 a.m., 3 hours earlier, because there are already people waiting outside. They're like, that's when it gets weird, that the people that are shaking up the jar are getting scared. Like, fuck, like they're literally being more of savages than I could ever like imagine. Like, it's nuts to see that, like, even over a stupid item, like, you see people get stomped on over a TV, you see people get stomped on for an Xbox game. And I'm like, man, in the grand scheme of things, like, we're all just barely, it's like that video on Facebook where you see all like the people on scooters and cars that are just missing each other. Like, they're all going on one, and it's just this conglomerate thing where you're like, how is nobody dying right now?
And the funny thing about you brought up Xbox games. There's very few Xbox games that are so rare, because the ones they're stomping each other out for in 6 months' time are going to be half price. Shoot, they're going to be less than half price at that point.
But at that point, free.
At that point, they want it so bad. Like, their brain is just hardwired to want something so bad. And me, the consumer that's sitting home sipping his coffee, I'm like, I'll see you Monday. And then I jump on Amazon Prime on Monday. I get what I need delivered to my door. Now, as a man I've worked Black Friday in retail. I've worked it many, 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 many years. Never electronics. That's the place that gets hit the worst, is electronics. A lot of my stuff was sports related, and a lot of my stuff was also like footwear type stuff. So that was relatively easy. Nobody's really running in to buy shoes on Black Friday. You get a swath of people, but electronics always got hit, man. Like, there'd be a line out the door. There'd be a line out the door before the store opened. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm walking in the store I think at that time I was going in at like 3 a.m. because, like you said, the store had opened at 4. I'm thinking to myself, why are you waiting in line for all this junk? Why don't you manage your money better? Then you get yourself a really nice TV, like a nice Samsung or something that's actually going to last you 10, 15 years if you take care of it. But no, you're going to get like some Element or off-brand television that's going to last you 3 months. You don't have a warranty because they don't provide a warranty on the TV. And if they do, it's from their plan, which their plan is really bogged down in a lot of like small print of what you can and can't do with it. And it's just they have built that mentality. And see, what they do is they prep the brain beforehand. So what they do, they get that ad, right? Everybody's waiting for that Black Friday ad. They're like, man, I can't wait to get that Black Friday ad. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm going to be a hypocrite here and say that I'm just as guilty. Not for the TVs, but for games, because there's certain games I like to get because they get super cheap. But they prep your brain. They put the ad out, right? They put the ad out, I think, a week to 2 weeks. I'm not sure. I haven't worked Black Friday in a while. 2 weeks. And then you're like, oh, cool, I can get this, this, and this. But if you go through it and you look at what's really cheap, that's what they're trying to get. And so what they do is they've already got people ready. So you'll have people that are camped out. And I kid you not, Best Buy, where I used to work at Sears. The Best Buy by that Sears would have tents, like literal, like people camping out a week before the store would do Black Friday. And there'd be like 5, 6 tents. And I'm like, you are really going hard for a TV that is just going to be trash. But that's people, man.
This is my issue with the whole this is people factors. The whole thing is like, you got to learn to prioritize your life a little bit better. I mean, not just in the grand scheme of like, but the fact that that game or that whatever, that TV, that this, and I'm at fault doing it too when a deal comes, man. I remember my buddy mentioned it to me. He goes, dude, I was like, dude, it's 2 for $5 yogurt. We got to go. There's 2 for $5 yogurt, man. It's the weekly ad. And he goes,
2 for $5 yogurt.
2 for $5 yogurt, right? Okay. He looks at it and he goes, you notice that when it's normal price, it comes out to like $2.47 per yogurt. And I'm like, or no, not 247. Yeah, 247 per yogurt. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, now put those two together. And how much does that equal? Around $5. And what's the deal today? 2 for $5, right? Yeah, it's the same shit. They just put a yellow coat on it and they put it in your face, and it's so
Right.
flashy. It's like when your
Right.
little kid won't shut up and you grab your keys and start dangling in front of them and do that type of thing. That's what it is. It's the flashiness of it that our minds immediately go. But I think that's all from like just years and years and years of brainwashing. But people are like, brainwashing? Well, they're not hooking me up to a chair. No, but advertisements that are getting played in your face 24/7. Did anybody remember last year, or not even last year, just a few months ago, when Instagram wasn't showing you fucking other people's posts that you weren't following, and also you weren't getting advertisements every 5 seconds? You would just get a random email. Now it's targeting your phone, and now they're just selling out your information. I think that that Netflix documentary, Social Dilemma, a bunch of people were freaking out about it because, oh my God, they're doing that to our information. I'm like, I already knew this was going on. And then people label that person as a conspiracy theorist or government, anti-government. I'm like, I'm not anti-government, but if you check their fucking track history, it's not the cleanest. I mean,
Right. You know, excuse me. And you know, that's the funny thing about it. People are always like, oh my God, there's some my information. They've been selling your information since they gave you a social security number. And if you don't think they have, they have. The minute you get a credit card, the minute you take out a bank, and the minute you go to a bank and say, I want to set up a bank account, they're already selling your information. Now, that's not me sitting here saying, yeah, you should just accept it and that's right. No, I'm just saying before you flip out about, oh my gosh, they're on Facebook, they're sending me a thing for Home Depot. Oh, I was just at Home Depot. Oh my God, I'm going crazy.
It's Bro, 2 for 4x4s. It's 2 for 4x4s.
But the thing is, they've been selling out your information since you were born. I mean, they have. You know, once they wrote up that social security number, they marked you. That's a mark. They've got you pretty much. And then if they fingerprint you as a kid for the missing children thing, they've got you. So they got your fingerprints, they got your social security number. I mean, heck, they got your ID now. You cannot, in the old days, back in like the 1800s, you could commit mad crimes, right? You could just go on a robbing spree. Unless you got shot or killed, you could pretty much rob anything. If nobody ever saw your face, getting away with it. Nowadays, as soon as they invented the radio, that was the first step. Because I can just call, hey, dispatch, yeah, so-and-so's going this way. Got you. Cameras, boom. Now they really got you. And the technology they have now, come on, man. And you got credit cards. You have a paper trail. Every human being in the United States, with the exception probably some preppers, which shouts out to them. I wish I could just be like disappear because, man, the society's goofy. Unless you're that, or unless you were born and you didn't get a social security number, which is possible, but good luck trying to get anything in life because you can't get a driver's license. You can't get an ID. If you don't have an ID, you can't get this, you can't get that. I mean, cash, if you got money, you can still do things. You can still make moves, but
everything we're doing, we're getting logged into a file. I think
of course.
Just this past year was when I started going back to like the doctors and stuff. I was just like, we don't have the insurance, so why go? You know, if something's broke, you just fucking deal with it until it heals or whatever.
You fix it yourself. Right?
I literally went to the doctor and he's like, when's the last time you were in here? I was like, 5 years. He goes, your last log in here was 2006. You're obviously not the same person from 2006. Right. You've grown. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm filling out all my information again. I'm like, damn, that's the last time they had a medical log of me. I'm like, what about like if you just stopped with all your payments, everything, you go like Jack Reacher, or like all your stuff is just off the thing. And I think the issue is where everybody starts freaking out and everybody hates the news right now. It's not the fact that they're playing what they want to play and they're showing you a distorted perception. I think it's also the issue of you look at, we're all looking for someone to fucking maim right now. We want someone to put up by their fucking fingertips and hang them upside down or something. That is who we're looking for. It's why everybody's going after Bill Gates, all these like, fuck Bill Gates. Only crime he has, I think, is he wears way too many sweaters. He has one that not even, people have different categories for season. He has one for every day of the week. And then
every day of the week, man.
But it's because we're all looking for someone to blame. Once you hear somebody's doing something where you start to go, that's kind of weird, you immediately want to put that person up on a post and just start lighting them up. And I'm like, that's not the issue here. The issue is the whole society is messed up. I've been researching a lot, and I've mentioned this in a prior episode with the Declaration of Independence. I was like, yeah, we're going by, people always talk about amending it. I'm like, man, it's a good idea to do that. Maybe like take like a little like piece of like clear plastic tape and then write on the thing in Sharpie like amended, bam, right under the actual thing. But then I look at it, I'm like, it also was made by people like, what were their age? What was their age? And you find out that everybody's like in their 30s or like maybe late 40s, which is pretty old for that time period. But then there was one guy that was older than everybody. And do you know who that man was?
You're talking about Ben Franklin?
Yeah, motherfucker was in
Yeah.
his late 70s. I'm like,
70s,
yo,
man.
I gave Ben Franklin, and you know what I say, I get weird feelings about people. You know my theory on Mr. Rogers. I don't need to explain it. But the whole factor of like he would have been a great president, but the factor is he didn't want to be president because he was hiding shit. And everybody
Yeah.
that would be a good candidate, even nowadays, is hiding a lot of shit and they're not open and they're not ready to be open about it. And that's our fault as a society for judging in harsh ways when it comes to maybe a sexual kink and stuff. But I look at Benjamin Franklin. Okay, his secret was he had bodies in the basement. He was stealing them from the morgue and practicing on them.
Mm-hmm.
He was, doing that. And that ended up getting found out later. That's the reason why he probably never went to be president. But George Washington is like the Trump. He was all up in the limelight. Like, hey, everybody, I'm going to be your president. Okay, let me tell you something. I chopped down a cherry tree and made my teeth out of it. Like this whole fake thing. I look at it like maybe Benjamin Franklin was whispering in their ears, like, man, I'm old as
Oh, yeah.
shit, but I'm gonna give you some information. So
Right.
later down the line, it'll be paved the way I want it to be paved. So secretly, I'm gonna be the guy on the mountain,
Right. Of course.
Mount Rushmore. So to say that's not happening now with other people
Oh, it's
just
definitely happening now.
yeah, and people refuse to believe that.
Definitely.
Like, I get it. Some people want to stay in there like, I can't handle everything that's going on, I can't focus
Right.
on the debates, I'm trying to just make sure I can make it to the next day. But it's like, it's the world's just going to keep getting worse, and we're not even talking about environmentally. We're just focused, our priorities are in so many different categories that we're not all on the same team here. And the next thing you know, it's all going to be split up into different branches. There are going to be people that want to wear masks, people that don't want to wear masks. We're going to be all in fucking domes like Simpsons, dude. That's
Right.
what it is. We're all Simpsons tapped out right now. There's one dude with a giant finger just poking us and putting us where we want to go.
Right. Right. And the thing too is, and you brought up a great point regarding um, like the different whispering in the ear of different people. But see, with presidents, and the thing that people love about presidents, and it's gotten worse, it's gotten progressively worse. And I'm not talking about the president themselves. I'm talking about their character. I'm talking about and pardon my language. This is the first time you guys are going to hear me say this. It's a proverbial shit show, is what it is. And once again, pardon my language, but it's been that way ever since the advent of television. It seems like these presidential candidates have gotten goofier and goofier and less serious over time. People want to talk about, because I was, let's see, the first president I remember was Reagan. Then it went to Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, and they progressively got worse as time went on. And it was less about, okay, we need to take care of the people, and more about how can we rile the people up? What can we do to rile these people up? Our intervention into foreign escalations has seemed to progressively get worse. And that's not really a slight to the military themselves. This is more of a slight to the power players behind the scenes that want something. And I've always told my co-host, I said, we're not over there for oil. We're not over there to do so much liberating. We're over there to find something. We're over there in the Middle East because there's something there that relates to our ancient past, our distant past, whatever, what have you. But there's something there. If you notice, there's never any big skirmishes in South America. There's never any big skirmishes in Antarctica, which there's got to be something there too, because all these countries have stakes in it. There's never any big skirmishes here in the United States, and we have some really old history here too. There's never any skirmishes Australia. There's never any skirmishes in China. There's never any so-called freedom in anywhere else but the Middle East, which is our origins. That's the origins of mankind. Now, whether that be a crashed spaceship from Mars, like I've talked about, where maybe that's where we came from, and so they find that, or maybe there's
you gotta explain that a little bit. I get where you're coming from on that, but like people listening are gonna be like, oh, now they're gonna say everything you just said, they're gonna toss out the window because you just tossed that in. So give everybody your perspective.
Okay.
That's what my show's about, is giving that perspective.
Right. So this is a theory I have, and no, I don't 100% believe it because I don't have 100% facts. But I don't want to say I believe, but I have a theory that we came from Mars, that we treated the planet that we lived on at the time horribly, or we did something. We ended up warring with each other, and then we dropped nukes on each other, blew the atmosphere away. We did something to either blow the atmosphere away, or we got bombarded by meteorites, comets, things like that, and it just destroyed the part of the planet. There's pockmarks on one side of Mars indicating that it just got barreled by comets, meteors, all that, asteroids, everything. Um, but what I have a theory of is that we had a significant amount of time. We ended up jumping off of Mars, and then we terraformed the Earth, and we might have been terraforming the Earth for a while for human habitation. But what you have to understand too is, and this is the part where I can't 100% prove this. No matter how many ancient structures they might find on Mars, without having an atmosphere and without having plant life, without having people there, or an ocean, or some form of fashion of some sort of documentation that they might have left behind, that Martian left behind, we don't know, because we don't know how it would affect our bodies if there was an atmosphere there, if there was water, if there, science and everything else. So, like I said, it's only a theory that I have in regards to that, my whole Mars theory. And there's a book by Richard C. Hoagland, Monuments on Mars. And there's a lot of really interesting information on there. Once again, I don't ascribe to this belief, but it's just a theory of mine. It's something I've been working on for a while, and not short of me landing on Mars and actually going through the place, which will never happen, probably, maybe one day. It just sits as a theory.
Have you seen,
just sits as a theory.
Have you seen the picture where it's like when aliens come to Earth and then like it's our crop circles and it's like there are these significant like patterns and stuff, like all these intricate stuff that you're like, there's no way a person could do that. And then they're like, when we go to Mars and it's our rover and it's the track marks and it's just like in fucking like stupid circles, like all over the place. And it's like, we barely did anything. But like, imagine if somebody revealed themselves, like, I'm not talking about aliens like Little Green Man, but like maybe like a John Carter type style, right, where they're just morphed in to look like us a little bit,
right?
And they tell you, hey, you're actually, your whole race, your whole species is a science experiment. You're like, what do you mean? We took a little bit of this little particles, these little microbes, put them on this planet, and we also did it to about 10 different other planets, and we watched how they evolved. And let's just say you're the fucking shittiest one out of all 10 of them. And you're just like, what do you mean? You fought each other, you did all these types of things, you found something that was, you created like a deity in your mind, which is amazing. But then you rival against it. Then all of you are separate, and nobody's together, and nobody can believe in anything, and everybody's got to have these really strong opinions. And you guys are so divided as people, you don't even understand that you're losing your own survival. And you're just like, well, I mean, you understand what we're all dealing with, yeah, but everybody else figured it out. Everybody else has unlocked the piece. We're the fat kid at the end of the race that's like, guys, just slow down. It's like we had all these amazing opportunities to reach this end goal or reach this enlightenment and have a chance. Like, you know what? We said that if you guys made it to where everybody else is at, you were going to come with us. It's the movie with the guy from Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, where it's like anything where they can swipe his hand. Have you ever seen that movie?
Is that the one with the alien or no?
Yeah, it's with the alien.
Paul?
Not Paul. No, there's another one where it's like anything you want or something. It was on Netflix, and these aliens, masters of the universe, there's like 6 of them. They're flying around these spaceships, and they would locate a planet. And before they would blow up the planet, they would see if the planet had intelligent life and would choose like the right options of morality. So they gave the power to a random person through this generator. They would scan all the people on Earth, and next thing you know, they would just fire off this anything they want into the person's hand. Dude got it right into his hand. He just starts making his dog fucking talk, start doing all this dumb stuff where they were like, all right, can we blow up the planet now? It's like, you give these people a test to qualify, to make it into this hall of heroes, to this thing where it's like, you can join us, the alien species, because you have mastered, you obviously are intelligent, and you have shown that you are worth saving. But then you always want to blow him up. You never even give him a shot. It's like, do you see what he's fucking doing? He just made that girl's tits bigger. Like, that's not, what you call that intelligent? It's like nobody has ever passed the test. Well, imagine if everybody else, if these aliens took us and had a bunch of put us on different planets and watched us all grow for all these billions of years. Then they just saw like, hey, you're the last one. Everybody else has made it. Everybody else is sipping on my ties right now in our spaceship. And you are the only one that we are actually afraid that we have created a monster. We have created fucking Frankenstein. And I think when we talk about Pandora's box, everyone talks about greed is this monster, famine, all these, the four horsemen, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's curiosity, because it seems like the way we take our curiosity is in the wrong direction. It seems like it has a Gemini personality. There's a positive side to it, and there's a negative side to it, but we always choose the negative. Wonder what would happen if I did these syphilis experiments on this certain population. Oh, it's because they don't look like us, so it makes sense. I don't feel really a connection there.
Right.
Any opportunity that is given to us to do something and get research or get information out of it, we do it. Whether it's, what happens if I lick this pan that's been sitting on this stove? It must have cooled down. It's been a minute. Something like that. Or something like, this person has no emotions and has no family. Would it just be easy to experiment on him to get our information? No, he's not going to be missed. And he doesn't cry, so it wouldn't hurt my feelings, and I wouldn't feel obliged to help him. It's this whole thing where it's like, you can't knock any theory out of existence. You can't. Any conspiracy theory ends up being true later. That's why when I say I'm open to everybody's perspective, is because I do love to entertain the idea, especially when it comes to aliens. Nobody ever wants to talk aliens on here. And I'm like, the government, they just said this was real. And we were all like last year so worried about aliens.
Well, like, I think too, when you say aliens, people don't take into account that aliens could look like you and me. They could look like you. They could look like me. And people don't take that into account. They hear the word alien immediately as green men. It's just that green. It's that old 50s science fiction green Martian dude, or the Greys, or the Zetas, or whatever, what have you. But I think, to me, if there are aliens, they're us. They look like us. They talk like us. They pretty much are us, maybe with a slight DNA sequencing difference. Maybe they're a little bit taller. Maybe they're a little bit heavier. Maybe they're somewhat smarter.
They talk like, and just start like, whoa, sound like a turkey.
Or that's the newest hit in the club. You guys are ready for the club, I guess.
I'm telling you, that music video by Eiffel 65, the I'm Blue, that one.
Oh yeah.
That had me thinking that there were aliens that existed.
But to get to your point of human beings being like this war race, and I wanted to say something real quick. I thought it was hilarious when you said, like, the aliens talking to us. We're the type, we're just suckering. But what'd you say? You got some problems? Bah, you're getting suckered. You're getting beat up. But I love humanity and I dislike humanity all in the same breath. And I love them because we come up with such brilliant ideas. Music. Like, I am an audiophile. I love music. Like, I have so much music everywhere in the house. And I can listen to something and I can take beats and I can pick them apart in my brain. And I love classical music and I love jazz. And to me, that's the beauty of mankind. Music is mathematics and mathematics is life, which I really love. So when I see things like that from humanity, I get inspired. When I read books that people have written that inspire me to push harder on this uncanny earth, and I get this new research, there's nothing better than when I stumble upon something I did not know in terms of a conspiracy theory, or in terms of a historical precedence, or a historical event that I never knew happened. Now I know it. Now my brain is just like on autopilot. It's wanting to go to every single website I could find to find this information. And I see that, and I love humanity. And when I see my favorite thing, and as a father, it's looking into my son's eyes, and I see the universe in his eyes. And I see that in children, just they're just innocent and sweet nature. And then comes the realization that there's people out there that would want to hurt them. And that's when my disdain for humanity begins. Because any society that would treat their children poorly, or hurt their children, or let people do that, because like I said, I follow the hashtag kill pedophiles, murder them. I'll never back down from that. Like, that's something I truly believe we should be doing.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that, but aren't you afraid of the QAnon thing, where there looks like that? I don't know if you've heard about this, like not the whole QAnon situation, but the whole fact of the fake pedophile thing as well, which is that everyone starts to think that Trump's this guy that's like hunting down pedophiles in his free time, which is the complete opposite narrative of what we know Trump to be, I guess. But more like the fact of there was an article that came out about a guy that played World of Warcraft. You're a fan of World of Warcraft, you played it. You create this character, okay? This thing where like you're a level 90 druid. You fucking this is my best character
level 90 druid
in the world. This is my favorite thing. I love just any amount of time where I can just go home and play this game and be this character because when as soon as I get on there, my whole guild looks up to me because I'm their leader, okay? Now, they think that that's going on also with the internet and the fact of people creating fake accounts and fake pedophile things, getting other people to hunt them down and saying, I caught this guy, I caught another one, and they get praise. So then they become these online trolls that are going after people that aren't really accounts. They're like bots. And that dismisses the whole actual pedophile thing. But it gives people a sense of pride and accomplishment, and it's deterring our attention away from the real scenarios. I mean, we could talk about these stereotypes all the time. Pedophile in the church. That has been around for fucking years, and it's always, and the Boy Scouts. And then now there's stuff people are like, hold on a minute, let's take this down. It's like, why did it take us so freaking long to decide why isn't anybody actually looking into this? And it makes me toss out this theory of the Alexandria thing, the Library of Alexandria. It got burned down. So what information was in there that didn't want to be leaked out? Because it wasn't an accidental fire, and we lost a lot of things. Were there dick pics? I don't know. Were there some secret trials or government thing that was going on? Yes.
Hieroglyphic pics.
Exactly. I like you brought up classical music, and it makes me think of this. I think every major moment, every giant thing that has ever been super, I guess, that we built upon in our society, such as classical music with Beethoven. Imagine if there was a John Carter like alien just there helping. Like, hey, do this and then you get that. Do this and then you get that. And even with Nikola Tesla, you know, the reason why he fucking was batshit crazy, but one of the smartest scientists out there was that they gave him too much. Like they gave him like this little crystal ball. Look at this. It's going to give you the opportunity to see the objective you need, and you're going to help this whole civilization. It was too much to where it fried his brain. Next thing you know, he's married to a pigeon. Like, he still created it, but everyone dismisses it because of that whole part of the pigeon thing. That could be like that with every major transformation. Da Vinci, all these amazing designs, but never finished any single one of them because his brain had maybe looked into the crystal ball a little too much. And next thing you know, he's getting all these ideas and he can't freaking stop. It's like the movie Knowing. If they gave you a piece of paper telling you everything, any incident that's going to happen, and you try and even help out a little bit or try and avoid it or try to mess with it, it doesn't work. All it is a warning. All it is a little bit of help. That's what I think it is. The movie Knowing is a perfect fucking example, except we're not going to have to rely on Nicolas Cage. We got to rely on ourselves.
Well, but I want to say this as a friend, be careful with that, because that's a slippery slope. And by saying that, I mean, you know, the best example I give is everybody wants to throw out the pyramids were built by aliens. That's a big thing. People love saying that. But I think if we rely too much on the fact that we were given this knowledge instead of coming to it on our own, I think we run the risk of losing our identity, because we as human beings have always been able to adapt, and that might be a little bit of help. You know, God comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna help you out here, but don't be stupid with it. But I think also we're ingenious on our own. I think there's times when we figure things out, and I think it's just a lot of trial and error on our part. Nikola Tesla, I think he was able to tap into what is known as the universal consciousness, where he could pull things from that. It's like a data bank. The Akashic records are the closest thing that I could relate to that. And it's basically like a place that you can get information from. It's like a library of the mind, so to speak. And I think some people can tap into that. You're really creative people, Amadeus, Beethoven, all your classical composers, I think, could pull from that. But it's just that thing. It's not like, okay, Amadeus could pull from that, but he could also paint, or he could also write essays about, you know, politics of that era in Vienna, and he could do all this. I think a lot of times, especially with Tesla, that's a good example. I think he understood numbers, and I think he understood mathematics, and that, if you can understand mathematics, that's the key to the universe. Mathematics is the key to every single thing on this planet, and every single thing that we do is correlated to mathematics.
I mean, he figured out the death ray before anybody else did. He tried to create an actual death ray. It just didn't pan out to his liking.
And then the government stole all of his ideas, because that's what governments do. And I don't mean to just single out ours, because every single superpowered government will always take that one scientist or multiple scientists, to be honest with you, and they'll steal their ideas. That's what the government does, because they believe it as the safety, and I finger quotes, safety of the nation. That's what they do. That's a government for you.
Well, people talk about like aliens, for instance, like the reason why they show them in media, like these little green men, is in case they ever make contact with us, that they're going to we're going to be normalized to it. I'm like, I think what they actually did was they normalized such crazy fuckingness to us. And what I mean that is, like, look at Bob Lazar. One of my very first episodes of my other podcast was Fill in the Blank, obviously, was talking about Bob Lazar. And then 2 months later, he gets a Joe Rogan scenario. And then next thing you know, everyone's looking and his whole documentary comes out. I'm like, whoa. They made it so anything like that, alien spaceships, what is this, Independence Day? It's all this type of stuff that has been completely like, that's a movie scenario. Then now with Bob Lazar being looked at again around this time last year, you look at Alex Jones, everyone's like, holy shit, he was right when it came to so much of the stuff he was talking about. Everybody only knows him from that stupid meme, they're making the frogs gay. Well, the government even admitted that they have a pesticide that changes frogs' genders. So it's like, what? Like, this is a movie scenario. I'm like, that's what I'm saying, is maybe they normalized us to the insane, crazy stuff. So whenever a hint of that even gets brought up, some information gets leaked out, maybe we're just like, that's insane. There is no way that there's a German group that's torturing and putting Jews in labor camps. That's so fucking, what is it? The boy in the striped pajamas? It's like, did we see what happened? Like, that was an actual thing that happened. I'm saying, to dismiss these, anything, maybe you can dismiss Hollow Earth. I don't think that one has a lot of steam to it. But if you
think Flat Earth, you can straight up dismiss, but
that's the one too. All right.
I hate that theory. I hate it. I've gone on record and said, I absolutely hate it. Like, I despise it with every fiber of my being. Now, to say on Hollow Earth, not to the extent that there's a Shambhala and things like that, but I do believe there could be underground civilizations, in that let's take Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, for example. It's a vast network of caverns and tunnels and places that we haven't even fully explored yet. It's like our oceans. So I think there could be underground civilizations. I mean, the government probably has a few in case, it hits the fan. But to say that there's a whole giant sun there, and that one, that's a little rough.
That's the part where I fade out. I believe the tunnel system part on the factor of if you look at mole people, there's like a whole thing in Seattle or San Francisco or something where there's just people living in the sewage underground and the sewage drainage part, and that's just because it's like the movie Get the Gringo with Mel Gibson. The prison is set up with all these little apartment complexes, but they're all concrete. That's what they did to the irrigation system down there in the sewage. And when it floods, they have to come up to the surface, or some of them drown. That's an actual mole people's a thing. But I look at that, I'm like, Hollow Earth doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when it comes to this giant, amazing thing that they talk about in the middle of it. But, if we look at Flat Earth too, that one's a little bit kind of far-fetched. But I believe I've talked about it, is with the conspiracy theorists. As soon as you say that word, it's just like how I told you to include the information about the spaceship thing, was because that is going where everybody takes it and throws it out the window. And I believe the best information I've ever done, and I talked to you about it on one of our first episodes, was I took everything Alex Jones said in that 4-hour interview of Joe Rogan, and I paused it every 2 minutes, because I had listened to that thing hundreds of times. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. He's going off on everything, kind of like how I do. And the best way he explains it is, there's so many roots in my brain right now in a conversation with you where I can take and try and explain it to you. So I'm trying to find the one that best fits you, but also best fits the people listening, which is what he was doing, with why he was going all over the place. But if you pause everything he said every 5 minutes and just Google it, it's fucking real shit. The CIA is not hiding it. The CIA just wants you to come out about it itself. And the JFK thing, somebody tossed up to me that they think that it was actually a fault of the Secret Service. And I'm like, What do you mean? Like the Secret Service paid Harvey Oswald? No, but at the angle his head got hit and flew off means that the gun had to be shot from a downward angle. So what they think was after all the shots, the two shots, the sniper shots that hit him were fired. And from my own extensive study, when it comes to JFK, if you look at the video where it hits him in the neck and then it hits him again, like in the shoulder, he lunges forward. So you're wondering, why didn't he go all the way down? Well, a couple months prior, JFK was known to have a really bad back, and he had went to his doctor and got a back brace. So when you see him go forward like this and then stop, there was no seatbelt that was stopping him. It was the fact his back brace wouldn't let him go down all the way, so it left him perfect up for shots. But the Secret Service guy that was on the back of the mobile, whatever you want to call it, his little presidential van, the Pope mobile, we'll call it, he pulled out his gun, and I think he might have had his hand on his trigger and accidentally fired and hit JFK in the back of the head. And at that point, if the government knows that and they tell the people that, then everyone's going to be like, well, fuck the Secret Service. Like, they don't know how to protect shit. So the government maybe made it a cover up. But then this is what gets me. I start looking through our history. And now I listened to an episode with Graham Hancock, who helped explain on Joe Rogan about erosion on the Sphinx, which we thought that it was just a desert, but turns out there was water there. They looked through a lot of these old ancient style like decanters and cups that they would like use as chalices to drink out of in these meetings. And somehow they found them in Spain, but they tested them. And instead of just finding wine in praise of the Greek god Demeter, they found drugs that were in the wine. So I'm like, now they're going back and looking at every major religious thing or historical thing in our society and finding out that drugs were involved with it. And I'm like, we're built on a society of like, now it's all like the storytelling thing where it gets whispered down the line, and the next thing you know, we lost the major information. Like, did Moses split the sea? I have no clue. He saw a burning bush, but everyone's now talking about he knows about the cicada bush, which is a giant drug. We're now realizing drugs and all these acid trips that we're so in love with now might have been back then too. It's like humankind doesn't really change. We just evolve into a new form. So I'm looking at like, we still have that fascination with drugs. So I'm like, when you hear all these crazy things, just fucking understand that it might have a little bit of steam to it. It's like Thomas the Choo-Choo Train. I think I can. I think I can.
Right. And it's funny you talk about this because I was at the gym the other day and I was on the bike working out. I was finishing up my workout with some cardio. And I was reading the Smithsonian. They have like a press reader where you can read stuff, and I usually read history while I'm riding on the bike. And I read an article about Nero and how they demonized Nero to a point to where, you know, he fiddled as Rome burned. But when you read the article, and I'm not saying that Nero wasn't a scumbag. I mean, if you were a Roman politician, you were pretty much a scumbag because you're going to start killing people to get where you need to get to. And it was accepted as long as you didn't do it too much and as long as you didn't really get caught. But, you know, like say I have somebody bumped off, you know it's me, but you don't have proof, but you know what I'm about. It's accepted. And so they go into Nero's life. And it's funny you bring that up because it was a game of telephone for years of Nero watched, you know, and that's a big thing. Nero watched fiddled as Rome burned. And I think that's the thing with history is we get to a point where we just accept the narrative instead of looking into the narrative further. JFK is like one of the best examples you can bring up at this point. There's so many theories. It was a secret society that did him in because he was talking about the Illuminati. He was talking about New World Order. There's that and the third. And I think the explanation you gave, and I saw a documentary, I think similar to that, where they said that, yeah, he was just the neck shot, the shoulder, you know, that, and then just the gun going off from the Secret Service member because of the way things went down makes perfect sense. Not everything, and I love to tell people this, not everything is a conspiracy. Not everything is based on a conspiracy. Some things just happen. That's it. You know, I love a conspiracy as much as the next person, but there's some things I'm like, that's just what happened. There's no conspiracy behind it because if you take everything as a conspiracy, you're not going to find truth in anything. You're going to try to pick apart every single possibility you can, and then you're just left with a bunch of thread. You're not left with anything to pull onto, to dive in further. you're just shutting yourself off from information that could lead to that conspiracy being, oh, that's not really a conspiracy at all. It just, this is what happened. And at the end of the day, I have to accept that that's what happened. And I think we as Americans, and whether people want to admit it or not, we love conspiracies because it's drama, and human beings love drama. They love that, just that taste of, oh, something's amiss, because in their everyday lives, it's pretty much picture perfect for most people. They get to go to work, they come home, boom. But then they're like, oh my God, I got some new information introduced to me in my life. Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
It's my theory on Jersey Shore. I was like, when you don't have conflict in your everyday life, like, because I remember when that show was first starting out, when they weren't so depressing as it is now. Like, it's like 20 years later and they're all drinking wine and shit. But like back when they were actually partying and stuff, I remember coming home, it's like middle school, and I used to be like, wow, I didn't have anything happen today. Like, nobody like yelled at me, never got into an argument with anybody. Just, it was a normal, really bland day. No issues. I come home, I'm like thinking I'm gonna walk into maybe somebody yelling at me like usual. No, nothing. I'm like, okay, let me turn on the TV. I was like, what's on the TV? Oh, Jersey Shore's on. I'm gonna click this. And I got my fulfillment. I got my conflict I needed that day, because just from watching that, I was like, oh, this is
the best part is, it's conflict between other people. You're not involved. So you get to sit back and chill and watch other people fight. And it's kind of crazy. I had a friend, him and his girlfriend will fight. And I'd be there like, and that's the most like awkward thing ever in life, is when you're like hanging out with a buddy and like him and his girlfriend get into a fight and you're like, I guess I'll just
you're like,
chill on the couch.
Should I go? Stay there. It's like, all right, geez, I can give you guys some room.
Right. And then you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna just chill on the couch here and drink my beer and there's not really say anything. And this was back when they didn't really have cell phones. So you're just looking around at the wall like, that's a nice picture of a city. Where they got it from? Did they get it from the store?
Oh, you guys went to Panama. It's
right. And I hated them in Panama too. Ugh, I'm gonna get out of here. No, you sit right there. I'll be right back. You're like, bro, I'm just gonna leave at this point. If I had to, I'll walk home, because bro, I'm good, man.
I'm on an Uber.
They didn't have that back then. You call a taxi, but good luck taxi coming out.
Try and find a payphone.
Back then there was those though. You could find a payphone back then, but good luck having a quarter. You better use 1-800 collect.
I like to make a collect call. No kid's gonna understand what that was like, or even the anxiety of calling a landline and then somebody else picking up like, "Hi, is Jenny there? Why are you looking for my daughter?" It's like, really would like to talk to her. If,
sir, we were supposed to go out later. Can I speak to your daughter?
Can Max come out and play?
Sir, is it okay if we go on a date to the movies? My mom's going to take us.
Have her home by 6. But the movie starts at 5:30. Looks like it's getting cut early.
Looks like you're early. Oh, sorry, sir. Okay. Looks like you're going to be a half hour early. Matter of fact, you just stay here. We're going to watch old war movies.
I think
okay.
Bad Boys did the best representation of that, where he scared the living shit out of the kid, pulling out a gun and stuff. Like, you ever seen Bad Boys with Will Smith?
Yeah.
When they were doing that, that's how I'd be if I was a dad. But I would. But here's the thing, though. I'm joking.
Here's the thing. Like, if I'm a father of a son, and if a man ever pulls a gun out on my child, you better pray to God I don't find you, because I'm gonna stomp you out. I don't think that's a good thing to do to a child. Like, you come to see my dog and pull a gun out on you. Okay, so then when you come over to my house for dinner, I'm gonna pull a gun out on you, and I'm a man, and you're a man, so inevitably
you took that legit. That makes me scared. The whole fucking pedophile thing now. Jesus Christ!
Like, kids, man, like, they're gonna date, but to intimidate a child, like, you're not tough, bro.
It was a movie.
No, I mean, but like, I've heard this before. I've heard that saying before. Like,
I wouldn't actually pull a gun out. I don't need.
Oh no, I know you wouldn't.
I get the fucking butter knife and be like, look, man.
It's not even that. Like,
you want some toast? If
you raise your child right, and you raise your son right to have manners when he goes to pick up a girl. Bring flowers. Do things you're supposed to do right. There's no reason for the intimidation factor. I get it. That's your child, but I also have a child, and that's my son. And you're not going to be intimidating him, because I'll intimidate you. And I don't want to do that. I'm not that type of person, man.
I think the world especially when it comes to parenting. And I've tried my hardest to understand the perspective of parents, mostly because I don't have any of my own kids. But I look at it like they're going to make their own mistakes. And the thing
Right.
that you really need to do is be there the most. The biggest issue I have
Right.
with parenting is the fact that even when it comes to raising a kid, you want to invest yourself into them a little bit on the factor
Yes.
of you don't want them to make the mistakes. And I think that's wrong. Mostly like older generations maybe investing themselves into me. And I'm like, we're not in the fucking 80s anymore. I don't
Right.
know about you, but I'm not going to put bleach in my fucking hair for it to be blonde. And I'm not going to use a can of hairspray to spray in my hair. That's the issue with parents nowadays is, most of them, the newer or not the newer generation is different. But these kids that are our age or maybe a little bit older or maybe even younger, they are living in a world that nobody has ever experienced ever. And it's nothing, any information that comes from an older, you can take it, but like, you got to make sure you get a college education. Not really means anything anymore. I mean, it makes good in a resume, but honestly, like I
Right.
had a dude say, how hard it was for him to get a job interview. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? You're a fucking ex-Power Ranger. And he was like, yeah, but people look at the PhDs, not what I did in 96 to 2002.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, that's the issue is that we're in this time now where video games you can make millions off of.
Yeah.
Investing yourself into your kids helps in some parts, but trying to control their whole future by things that you should have done, such as,
Right. Right.
that's a big mistake.
Well, I think investing yourself in your child in terms of teaching them manners, respect, how to ask out a girl, how to treat a girl, from
Or a guy.
a father of a son,
He could be gay.
um, and that sort of thing. Teaching them that there's different paths to life. You don't have to go this path. If you want to play music, I'll be behind you. But always make sure you have a safety net. Like
Yeah.
that's the key thing. Make sure you have. If you want to go to school, go to school. If you don't have to. But you got to do something with your life, man. You got to do something. Make it count. You only get one. Make
That's
it
good.
count.
That's a good way of doing it. Because if you ever heard Rob Lowe, the
Yes.
famous actor, he talked about his kids where he was raising them to be these mindless drones. He didn't like. He remembered when his son said, "Dad, I want to be an actor," and he's like, "When my son told me that, I wanted to publicly disembowel myself." In front of everybody because I know how fucking hard it is. And I know that in these times it is impossible. But he goes, then now my kids, he has a law degree, he has a commercial fisherman's license, and he works on my show. But I bred them to be mindless zombies, not wanting to take a chance because I knew how hard it was to get where I had to get. And I think it's that perseverance thing. Either you have it or you really kind of don't. And when you don't
Right.
have it, a lot of the times it's because someone told you so many times to play it safe. Play it safe's nice when it comes to getting a career. Always have a backup plan, but don't kill the dreams too. I think that's
Right.
with the pandemic, for instance, when this all hit, there were so many people that were like, oh my God, my whole life is gone. What did I do that whole time? It was like you worked 30 years in a meat packing plant, like you didn't want to be a karaoke singer like you had so dreamed of for so
Right.
long. That's the issue is where
Right.
that curiosity it starts getting turned into the bad light of things when it just starts to come like I'm going to take my own inner emotion and aggression out on somebody on Twitter or somebody on social media, somebody that I can pick apart. Fucking some woman tried to cancel me because over just the dumbest miscommunication of things where it's like somebody says something like I'm not a fan if you use your mental health as a crutch. I'm not a fan of that. And this person had said it 50 times to me and I kept messaging her back a response like I'm at work, can we talk later? And you know how much I am a mental health advocate.
Right. Right.
So and she then eventually goes, are you just picking on me because I have mental health? And that's where I snapped. I was like, I am pro. If anybody knows what that's like, you never want anybody to suffer from that.
Right.
Um, and then she started trying to cancel me and she twisted my words around and put it on social media. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't even say anything. I just let it go. Honestly, I'm switching it. We're no longer saying Karens. We're saying Elizabeths. That's how I'm taking out my frustration. But no, I looked on her thing and everything. She had 500 tweets in 1 hour over the debate at Trump. And I'm like, oh my God. like it's this whole thing. It's like, why do you need the aggression? Why do you need people to hear you voice how angry you are 24/7? When I'm angry, I go and just walk away and try and isolate and figure out that shit and try to figure out what the hell, how can I not do this anymore? How can I not be this angry? But the world has to come to anything we ever do, we need appraisal from it, and we need someone to know that we need to be heard. Doesn't need to happen always. Sometimes I like to fart in the middle of the woods and pray to God nobody hears it.
And on the flip side of that, sometimes I find some research, a little bit of nugget of information that I've found from the books I've been reading, and I just want to throw it all over social media and be like, I've did it. But part of me just kind of reels that back in because I don't want to get too proud in what I do. Like, I love researching. I love the books I have. I love what I'm doing. I'm currently working on a project that has been 10 years in the making. Like, I'm still working on it. It's been 10 years. 2010 was the time I sort of.
Does it involve drugs?
No, it does not.
Damn it. Because the guy wrote the Manson murders and he started figuring out the government was drugging him, but he wrote a book for 20 years and it's now all getting released. So I'm like, oh my God, the government drugged Charles Manson. This is nuts.
Now this has to do with giants and things like that.
Well, that's even fucking better.
I know.
That sounds way more entertaining than the drug factor. Please.
Recently we did a show, this Uncanny, I think it was like episode 118, 117, I don't remember. But I talk about the pillars of Iram, and it's sort of opened my eyes to a whole nother aspect about giants and the Nephilim. And that's just what I've been working on. I've been working on a lot of that. And that's why we have shows about Antarctica, because everything is tied into what I'm doing. And I'm hoping to start producing some research in 2021 involving the Nephilim and the giants. And I'm meeting with some people to discuss it, because as much as I can sit here and read books and read articles and scour the internet, look at maps, I need other people in my life that have similar ideas. A good buddy of mine, Joe Perdue from Wild and Weird, West Virginia, he knows what I'm talking about, and he's a little bit more educated on it than I am. So I'm heading down to West Virginia here in about a week or so, and I'm gonna try to meet up with him and sit down and discuss them, because I need more insight into my research.
How close are you to Maryland?
Oh, if you're looking to meet up sometime, I'm probably, I want to say 4 hours, depending if I go through Pennsylvania and cut down in Pennsylvania way.
So low key, if I do this or not, I might be traveling sometime in the next month or so. And I mean, by travel, I mean I'm visiting most of the people I've ever podcasted with. So I'm going to like a lot of countries and stuff. So I don't know why we haven't hung out and grabbed a beer or something. And just,
we got to get a beer, man.
I'll set up the screen projector and we can just play Fallout all day.
And I like what you do. Like I've championed you to so many different people because I love what you do. It's just conversation. Like, as much as this Uncanny Earth, I love it, but there's a structure to it. You know what I mean? Like, I have to have a structure because it's about the uncanny things of this world. I can't just start talking about some actor, actress, unless they got some paranormal stuff going on with them. I can't do that, but I'm okay with that. With you, you don't have any barriers, which is fantastic. And I keep telling people, and I say, hey, you should be on this show. Get yourself out there. I mean, this is a guy that really busts his tail. And what are you on, like 400 some odd episodes now, man? Like
almost
a million episodes at this point.
I'm like a low key. I say a low grade Joe Rogan to people when I invite him. Like, what do you mean low grade? I'm like, I'm not anything close to him. I'm just having as many episodes as him.
I honestly think you're better, to be perfectly honest. Because there's not
say that. My ego is going off the charts.
Joe Rogan,
talk about a little monster.
He gets like lit during his show. And it just devolves into like some DMT riddled nonsense. His podcast is okay, but it's like, I get it. Like, it's the same thing with him. There's no like deviation.
I've been a little upset by his past, like maybe 15, 20 episodes. Cause he's always like, you want to try drugs? You want to try this? I'm like, dog, dude, stop fucking peer pressuring people to do this shit. Like
you got to do some DMT.
The Grant Hancock one I was listening to, the guy was giving him information about studying the drugs throughout history. And they're like, have you ever taken LSD? He's like, no, I've never taken it. And, I'm a sober guy, this is weird information if you're not. But he's like, yeah, he goes, why don't you try it? He goes, well, if I would have tried it, I would have never made this book that took me 30 years to make. Right. So it's like that whole thing. It's like, there's some people come when they're ready, obviously, to it. And I think I mean, I've seen so many and I've heard so many experiences of people on drugs, and they're always entertaining to look at because you get to see a different fabric of reality get split. But it does a disservice to the platform. I mean, you have a perfect platform when it comes to, you really do try and show the best in light of people, which is amazing with structure too, because you're going to get better guests. And when I mean better guests, I mean just more known.
Right.
Because that's even this whole ride to fame that everybody wants is just a misjudge of character of somebody, because you get lost with that. You know, they send you, it's the flashy keys thing again. As soon as that gets
Right.
dangled into your face, everybody's like, oh, I can be famous. I'm like, you got to do it because you love it. You got to do it because you want to do it, and you got to do it just because just sometimes you need to have
Yes.
fun and take that risk. And that's the whole thing. When you get too famous, like I put up a
Right.
post about it. Somebody shared it. It was like, I I'm just done giving up. I'm giving up on famous people, just trying to get them on the show, just because the aspect of I've had better conversations with people that aren't famous. Stand up people
Right.
that go by, I'm the world's best stand up comedian. Then I have some random person that makes like wood out of like, or makes clogs. And next thing you know,
Right.
he's funnier than the other guy. I'm like,
I
what
want
the
to talk to Claw Guy too, man. I
fuck?
want to
Like,
talk to the Claw Guy.
show me how you tap dance in them motherfuckers. Like,
um, and like you, man, like there's one person I've always wanted to get on my show. I have three goals in what I do. One, I want to speak at a convention just once. I just want to speak at a convention. I want to just get in front of people, and I want to put what I've been working on out there to people to absorb, whether you like it or not. You know, that's of no bearing on me. I'm still going to do what I do. Two, I want to have my own convention, and you're going to be invited to speak there, or
about
to do your
what?
podcast there live. And
Oh God.
three, I want to have Richard C. Hoagland on my show. Like that's the one. And the only reason I want him on the show is so I can pick his brain about this Mars thing. That's it. I want to be like, hey, bro, you kind of edged me along here with that. What's up? I need to get some information out of your skull. Talk to me. Now, what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
I was gonna say, what do you want me there for?
Because man, you've you've given me things to think about, man, and I respect you as a friend and as a brother, and I respect that. I respect our friendship. And so if I make it, and I wouldn't even say make it, because I don't want to be like super Joe Rogan famous. I just want to be able to do what I do and take care of the people I love. That's it, and keep learning and keep doing my show. But I want you there because you know how many people could stop by. You get like at least 400 episodes at one convention, man. I'd be like, bro, just get to it. We're gonna chain you to the desk so you can't leave. We'll have a bucket.
My cousin had that business idea in my town. He was gonna buy a little, like, the spot on the boardwalk. He was gonna open up one of those little shops there, and it was gonna be a studio for this, and it was just gonna be like this walk-in off the street type thing, and just have a conversation. And he was like, "You're gonna, I'm gonna have a coffee maker going, and we're just gonna do roundabouts." I mean, like
Yeah,
a straight up day of like just 50 people,
that
like
would be awesome, man.
and I was like, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. But like at the same time, it also is like fun because I like the planning of it too. I like trying to find the guests, because people are like, how do you get such a wide, I mean, I had a brothel keeper, and
Saw
then I
that.
had a dude that sells crab meat as the next episode. And then before that, like, and then I have a Power Ranger coming on, and then I have
Yeah.
this, and everyone's like, how do you go from all these things? I'm like, it's whatever I'm fucking interested in.
Right.
I just
Right.
go on Instagram and I see a dude making clogs, and I'm like, what? Let me just ask how this route got started, because this is
Yeah.
not something you just woke up one. And then sometimes it is. They just wake up one day, I want to make clogs, or I want to sell hush puppies to starving kids in Africa. I'm like, that's
Right.
amazing. Makes me feel like I'm a piece of shit. Let's talk.
No, but see, you're giving these people an outlet. Like I'm giving people an outlet to come on my show. We had a film critic, Rafe Telsch, and I'll have to link you two up. But he does a show about his favorite, like he lets people come on and they give him movies that he's never seen. And so they talk about a movie they've never seen. And so it's like I give these people a voice on my show, and I don't do it so like I can go out there and promote it crazily. Like I do it because I love what I do and they love what they do. Like having you on the show, and everybody, he's going to be on the show for our Halloween episode. We're going to talk about what Robbie dressed up as a kid, going trick or treating, and I can't wait to hear all the funny things he dressed up as.
I got a really good one. I'll be honest
Save
with
it.
you.
You got to save it. You can't bring it out right now. It ain't Halloween yet, man. Um, but I love, like you, I love talking to people. I love just having that conversation, especially when it's something I love to talk about, you know. And what I love about your show is there's so much. You don't have a specific topic. It just, if the conversation goes off the rails, it goes off the rails. And I like that. It's a way, it's a release. And while, you know, you may think you said, you know, I'm a piece of shit. Nah, bro, you are the antenna that draws everything in, and then you can project it back out so people can hear that. So maybe if I'm having a bad day and I'm like, hey, Robbie's talking to a guy that makes clogs. What? I kind of want to hear about what the process is behind making wooden shoes. I want to hear that. And now my day's better because I've had something put into my brain that's like, it's not negative. And your show's not negative, man. It's positivity. And I love that, man. I love it.
What would you say to the guy who's making wooden shoes? What's your first question for him?
Why?
Really?
Why
Mine would be, how many splinters do you get in a day?
Oh.
That's like the one bugaboo I would see about that job is trying to not get splinters in my
When we're done, I'm gonna end up going to watch like a documentary how to make clogs.
I bet you Netflix has it.
If not, YouTube does. YouTube, I bet 1000% has a documentary about clogs.
YouTube's got everything.
Everything, bro. Everything. You want the darkest conspiracies, 2 a.m. That's me. Sometimes when I'm up, I'm like, oh, this YouTube video is good. Oh, it's 7 hours. I might as well just stay up for 7 hours and watch why the world's going to explode tomorrow. I mean, why not?
It's only 1 a.m. I work at 8. Oh, next thing you know, look at the clock. It's 8 a.m. It's like, shit, where did the time go?
Then you're listening to it on the way to work. You're like, man, I can't stop listening to it. This is amazing.
All right. Please promote this Uncanny Earth, man.
Everybody come check out the greatest paranormal, supernatural, esoteric podcast ever in the history of forever. Yes, I love my show very much, and I'm going to promote it like that. This Uncanny Earth. You can find us at www.spreaker.com/This Uncanny Earth. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us pretty much everywhere. Podbean, all that Jupiter jazz, as I like to say. Next week, we're going to be having a guest. I ain't putting it out there yet. I'm going to let y'all just kind of be like, oh, I wonder who's going to have, but somebody that's awesome. And Robbie, I'm probably going to pass this person on to you too, if you want to talk to him. And you come join us Thursdays. The last week of this month, we're going to be having Robbie on, and we're going to have other guests on. We're all going to be talking about Halloween. We're going to have fun doing it, and you guys are going to be there and listening in. Check us out every Thursday, man. I love what I do. I love the show. And I appreciate Robbie for bringing me on, man. I love this show too. So there you go. There's 2 shows you should definitely be listening to, but not at the same time because you get confused. You won't know who's talking, who's not talking. So
you'll have voices in your head, and they're not the voices you want to hear.
No, not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank Podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.